Before we begin, please note that the information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes only, and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Let me ask you something. When you woke up this morning, what was the very first thing you did? Before your feet even hit the floor. If you're like over 80% of Americans, you reached for your phone, and in that moment, without even realizing it, you lost the day. You let a flood of work emails, screaming headlines, and perfectly curated Instagram lives dictate your mood before you even had a chance to decide for yourself how you wanted to feel. This isn't just a bad habit. It's the symptom of a much larger problem. We are living in a state of chronic low-grade anxiety. It's that constant hum of tension in the background, the feeling that you're always behind, always needing to do more, be more, and post more. We're told to hustle, to grind, to optimize every second. But the result isn't peak performance. The result is burnout. The result is a nation where nearly 1 in 5 adults lives with a mental health condition. That's over 50 million people. 50 million people who feel like they're running on a treadmill that's speeding up, and they can't find the off switch. But what if I told you the off switch isn't some complicated, expensive piece of equipment? What if the secret to reclaiming your peace, your focus, and your happiness isn't a 10-day silent retreat or a radical life overhaul? What if it's found in the small, almost invisible choices you make every single day? That's the entire promise of this presentation. We are going to break down 10 simple, science-backed daily habits that will fundamentally change your relationship with your own mind. These aren't vague suggestions like, be more positive. These are concrete, actionable strategies that, when practiced consistently, create a powerful compounding effect on your mental well-being. Think of it like investing. A small daily deposit into your mental health account might not feel like much on day one, but over a month, over a year, it compounds into a level of inner peace and resilience you might not think is possible right now. Your brain is not fixed. It's plastic. It can be rewired. Every time you consciously choose a new habit, you are physically building a new neural pathway. You are teaching your brain a new way to operate. And by the end of our time together, you will have a complete toolkit to start building a brain that works for you, not against you. A brain that is less reactive, less anxious, and more present, focused, and joyful. So let's get right into it. The first habit is the one we started with, and it is arguably the most important because it sets the tone for your entire day. Habit number 1. Win the first hour. Do not touch your phone. I know I can feel you recoiling through the screen. For many of us, our phone feels like a phantom limb, but that immediate morning check-in is the single most destructive way to start your day. Here's why. When you wake up, your brain is transitioning from a delta wave sleep state to a theta state, and then to an alpha state. This is a highly suggestible, creative, and impressionable period. It's like the soil of your mind is soft and fertile. What are you planting in that soil? When you grab your phone, you are planting weeds. You are instantly flooding your system with information you didn't choose. A stressful email from your boss immediately spikes your cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. You're in fight or flight mode before you've even had a sip of water. You see a news alert about some global crisis, and your nervous system registers that as a threat. You scroll through social media and see someone else's highlight reel, and the comparison game begins, chipping away at your self-worth. You have immediately put yourself in a reactive state. You are no longer the pilot of your day. You are a passenger reacting to everyone else's emergencies, opinions, and agendas. Your attention, your most valuable currency, has been stolen and fragmented before you were even fully awake. The solution is deceptively simple, but it requires discipline. Your new rule is, for the first 60 minutes of your day, your phone does not exist. It's a brick. It's on airplane mode in another room charging. But I use it for my alarm, you might say. This is the easiest hurdle to overcome. Go on Amazon right now and buy a $10 digital alarm clock. This is the best $10 investment you will ever make for your mental health. Getting your phone out of your bedroom is a non-negotiable part of this process. Your bedroom should be a sanctuary for sleep and intimacy, not a command center for the digital world. So what do you do with this newfound hour of peace? This is where the magic happens. You don't have to fill it with some intense, complicated routine. The goal is simply to be proactive instead of reactive, to connect with yourself before you connect with the world. Here are a few ideas. Pick one. Start by drinking a full glass of water. You're dehydrated after 8 hours of sleep. And rehydrating your brain is crucial for cognitive function. Then get sunlight. If you can, step outside for 5 minutes. If you can't, just look out a window. Morning sunlight hitting your retinas helps regulate your circadian rhythm. It tells your body clock that the day has begun, which improves your mood and energy during the day and helps you sleep better at night. It's a powerful biological signal. Maybe you stretch for 5 minutes. You don't need a full yoga routine. Just reach for the sky, touch your toes, and wake your body up. Or you could try what some call a brain dump. Take a notebook and a pen and just write down whatever is on your mind for 3 pages. Don't edit it, don't judge it. Just get the clutter out of your head and onto the page so you can start the day with a clear mind. Or my personal favorite, do absolutely nothing. Just sit with a cup of coffee or tea and look out the window. Let your mind wander. Be bored. Boredom is the breeding ground for creativity and self-reflection, and we have engineered it completely out of our lives. The specific activity doesn't matter as much as the principle behind it. The principle is this: the first hour of the day belongs to you. It is your time to set your own intentions, to check in with your own body, and to start from a place of calm and control. When you do this, the change is profound. You stop starting your day with a jolt of anxiety, and instead start it with a sense of grounded purpose. You'll find you have more clarity, more focus, and a much longer fuse when the inevitable challenges of the day arise. You've already won the first and most important battle. You've protected your peace. This one habit alone can be life-changing. It creates a domino effect. When you start your day with intention, you're more likely to make intentional choices throughout the rest of the day. From the food you eat to how you interact with your colleagues. Once you've mastered the art of winning your morning, you're ready to tackle the noise that comes from within. The next step involves learning how to use a tool you already possess, one that can instantly calm your nervous system in moments of stress, and it's been hiding in plain sight your entire life. It's your breath. I know. Sounds ridiculously simple, almost insulting. You've been told to just take a deep breath during every stressful moment of your life, and it probably felt like the most useless advice in the world. But that's because no one ever taught you how to use it. They told you what to do but not how, or more importantly, why. See, your breath isn't just air. It's the remote control for your nervous system. And you've been letting it run on autopilot, letting your panic, your anxiety, your stress dictate the rhythm. Today that ends. Today you take back the controls. Imagine this. You're sitting in your car, 5 minutes before the most important job interview of your life. You've prepared for weeks. You know your stuff, but your body doesn't seem to care. Your heart is hammering against your ribs like it's trying to escape. Your palms are so slick with sweat you're afraid to shake someone's hand. Your mind, which was crystal clear just an hour ago, is now a thick swirling fog. You're trying to recall your key talking points, but all you can hear is a high-pitched ringing in your ears and a voice screaming, "You're going to fail. You're not good enough." This is your sympathetic nervous system. It's your body's alarm bell, your fight-or-flight response. It's designed to save you from a saber-toothed tiger. But right now, it's sabotaging you in a Toyota Camry. It's flooding your system with adrenaline and cortisol, prepping your muscles to run while shutting down the nuanced, creative parts of your brain you desperately need for this interview. You're trapped, a prisoner in your own body. Now, what does nearly everyone do in this situation? They either try to fight the feeling, which is like trying to fight a tidal wave with a bucket, or they tell themselves to calm down, which is like yelling at a fire to stop being hot. It's useless. But what if you had a button? An emergency brake you could pull to stop this runaway train of anxiety, right in its tracks? You do. It's a specific, deliberate way of breathing that communicates directly with your brainstem, the ancient reptilian part of your brain, and sends a single undeniable message. We are safe. Stand down. This isn't philosophy, it's physiology. Think of your nervous system as having two primary modes: the gas pedal and the brake. The gas is that fight-or-flight response we just talked about. The brake is the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode. It's what allows for calm, creativity, and connection. When you're anxious, your foot is slammed on the gas. Conscious, controlled breathing is how you manually, physically press the brake. You are literally taking over a system that is usually automatic and forcing it to calm down. The simplest and most powerful technique to learn is called box breathing. It's used by Navy SEALs, elite athletes, and surgeons to maintain peak performance under unimaginable pressure. If it works for them, it will work for you. It's called box breathing because it has 4 equal sides, just like a box. Here's how you do it, and we can even try one cycle together. First, gently exhale all the air from your lungs. Get it all out. Now, slowly inhale through your nose for a count of 4. 1, 4. Feel your belly expand. Now, hold that breath at the top for a count of 4. 1, 4. Don't clench. Just hold it. Now, slowly exhale through your mouth for a count of 4. 1, 4. Push all the air out. And finally, hold the breath at the bottom with your lungs empty for a final count of 4. 1, 4. That's one cycle. That's it. That's you pressing the brake. Doing just 4 or 5 cycles of this can radically shift your physical and mental state. The slow, rhythmic nature of the breath, especially the controlled exhale, stimulates the vagus nerve. This nerve is like a superhighway of information running from your brain to your gut, and it's the main lever for activating your rest and digest system. When you control your breath like this, you're sending a powerful signal up that highway that says, all clear. The threat is gone. Your heart rate will slow. Your blood pressure will drop. The mental fog will begin to lift. Now, here's an even faster tool for moments of acute, high-level stress. Scientists at Stanford recently identified what they call the physiological sigh as the single fastest way to quell real-time anxiety. We do it naturally. You've seen a child do it after a bout of crying, that little double-breath sob. That's the body's innate way of resetting itself. And you can do it on command. It's simple. 2 sharp, quick inhales through your nose, followed by 1 long, complete exhale through your mouth. The first inhale fills the lungs, but the second one pops open the tiny air sacs called alveoli that have collapsed during stress. This allows you to offload carbon dioxide far more efficiently, which is a primary trigger for the feeling of panic. So it's sniff, sniff, push, inhale, inhale, long exhale. Just 1 to 3 of these can feel like hitting a reset button on your entire nervous system. It's your emergency brake. Box breathing is for driving in heavy traffic. The physiological sigh is for when you're spinning out on ice. But here's the most critical part of making this a life-changing habit. You don't just practice this when you're panicking. That's like trying to learn how to swim during a tsunami. You practice when you're calm. You build the muscle memory so that when the tidal wave of anxiety hits, your body already knows what to do. You need to integrate this into your day. This is how you turn a technique into a habit. Here's the plan. Link your breathing practice to an existing daily trigger. Every time you stop at a red light, do 2 cycles of box breathing. Waiting for your coffee to brew? That's 3 cycles. Right before you open a difficult email from your boss? 1 physiological sigh. You are peppering your day with these tiny moments of conscious regulation. You are training your nervous system rep by rep to be less reactive and more resilient. You're not just managing stress anymore. You're fundamentally changing your baseline state. Remember the first habit, making your bed? That was about imposing order on your external environment to start the day with a win. This habit, conscious breathing, is about imposing order on your internal environment. It's the foundational skill for emotional regulation. It's the proof to yourself that you are not at the mercy of your feelings. You are the one in control. You have the remote. You have the brake. By calming the storm inside, you gain the clarity to face the storms outside. You've now established order in your room and order in your nervous system. You've created a calm, stable foundation before the world has a chance to throw chaos your way. But what about the very first thing you put into your body each morning? You can have a perfectly made bed and a perfectly calm mind. But if the very fuel you're using is working against you, you're starting the day with a hidden handicap. The next habit is about the single most important physical decision you make within the first 10 minutes of waking up. One that can either supercharge your mental clarity for the entire day or cloak your brain in a subtle fog of anxiety before you've even had your first thought. That decision is whether or not you pick up your smartphone. Let's be brutally honest for a moment. For millions of us, the very first thing we touch in the morning isn't a loved one, a glass of water, or even the snooze button. It's the cold glass rectangle of our phone. We roll over, our eyes are barely adjusted to the light, and we plunge ourselves headfirst into a digital torrent. We're checking emails from a boss who isn't even at their desk yet. We're scrolling through the curated, picture-perfect highlight reels of other people's lives on Instagram. We're consuming breaking news headlines designed to provoke fear and outrage. And what does this do to our brain? It's a neurological car crash. You are hijacking your own brain chemistry. When you wake up, your brain is transitioning from a theta state, that dreamy, creative subconscious state, to an alpha state, a calm and receptive wakefulness. It's a delicate, crucial transition. But by flooding it with notifications, emails, and social media feeds, You force it to skip alpha and slam directly into a high beta state of reactive, stressed-out thinking. You're essentially telling your nervous system that the very first order of business is to deal with emergencies, to compare your reality to someone else's fantasy, and to process an avalanche of information you have zero control over. This floods your system with cortisol, the stress hormone. It kicks off a frantic dopamine-seeking loop, where you're scrolling and scrolling, looking for that next little hit of validation or novelty. You haven't even put your feet on the floor, and you've already outsourced your mood to an algorithm. You've put your mental well-being in the hands of 1,000 strangers and a handful of corporations. This is why our third daily habit is perhaps the most difficult, but also the most liberating. Do not touch your phone for the first hour of your day. I know. For some of you that sounds impossible. My alarm is on my phone. I need to check for work emergencies. What am I supposed to do? Just stare at the ceiling? These are the excuses of an addicted brain. And I say that with empathy because we are all susceptible. These devices and apps were designed by some of the smartest people in the world with the express purpose of capturing and holding your attention. It's not a fair fight. So you have to create a new system. Buy a $10 alarm clock. The world will not burn down if you don't answer an email at 6:05 a.m. The solution to what am I supposed to do isn't to find a replacement distraction. It's to reclaim that time for yourself. This first hour is sacred. It's your time to set the trajectory for your day, to connect with yourself before you connect with the entire world. And that brings us directly to habit number 4, which is the perfect antidote to the morning phone scroll. Instead of reaching for your phone, get yourself in front of some sunlight. Specifically, get 10 to 15 minutes of direct morning sunlight within the first hour of waking. This is not some new age wellness fluff. This is a non-negotiable biological mechanism hardwired into your DNA. Dr. Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist at Stanford, has spoken extensively about this. Morning sunlight is the primary signal that sets your body's master clock, your circadian rhythm. Think of your body as a complex orchestra. Every cell, every organ, every hormone has a specific role to play and a specific time to play it. Morning sunlight is the conductor tapping the podium, signaling to the entire orchestra that the performance is about to begin. When light, specifically the blue light spectrum that's most prevalent in the morning, enters your eyes, it sends a powerful signal to a part of your brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. That's a mouthful, so just think of it as your body's master clock. This signal does 2 incredible things for your mental well-being. First, it triggers the healthy release of cortisol. Wait, you might be thinking, isn't cortisol the bad guy? Not in the morning. A healthy cortisol spike in the morning is what makes you feel awake, alert, and ready to tackle the day. It's a natural, clean energy. The problem is when cortisol is released at the wrong times, like late at night from stress or looking at your phone. Getting morning sun times this release perfectly. Second, and this is the game changer, it starts a countdown timer for the release of melatonin, the sleep hormone. By getting sunlight in the morning, you are literally programming your brain to get sleepy at the right time later that night. A good day of mental clarity starts with the sleep you got the night before, and a good night's sleep starts with the sunlight you got that morning. It's a beautiful, self-reinforcing cycle, and you don't need to live in Southern California for this to work. Even on a cloudy day, there is more than enough of the necessary light spectrum to set your clock. The key is to be outside, without sunglasses if possible. Don't stare at the sun, of course, but just face in its general direction. You can do this while you walk your dog, you can do this while you stand on your porch, you can do this by just opening a window and sitting next to it while you think about your day. You are anchoring your biology to the rhythm of the planet. It is the most grounding, calming, and energizing way to start your day, and it costs absolutely nothing. Now that you've set your internal clock and avoided the digital chaos, it's time for internal maintenance. This leads us to habit number 5. Hydrate before you caffeinate. So many of us stumble out of bed and make a beeline for the coffee maker. We see coffee as the elixir of life, the one thing that can turn us from a zombie into a functioning human. But we're making a fundamental mistake. After 6 to 8 hours of sleeping, breathing, and existing, your body is naturally dehydrated. Every single cell in your body is crying out for water. And what do? We give it a diuretic, a substance that makes you lose even more water. Think of it this way. Caffeine doesn't actually give you energy. It's more like an energy loan shark. It works by blocking the adenosine receptors in your brain. Adenosine is the chemical that makes you feel sleepy. By blocking it, caffeine tricks your brain into thinking it's not tired. It's borrowing energy from later in the day, and that loan always comes due. usually in the form of a midday crash. Water, on the other hand, is pure, unadulterated fuel. It's a direct deposit into your energy account. Your brain is about 75% water. Even mild dehydration can lead to brain fog, fatigue, mood swings, and anxiety. That feeling of grogginess and irritability you chalk up to a lack of coffee might actually just be a cry for hydration. So the habit is simple. Before a single drop of coffee touches your lips, drink a big glass of water. 16 ounces is a great goal. Some people like to add a pinch of sea salt for electrolytes or a squeeze of lemon. But honestly, plain water is perfect. And don't just chug it down while you're thinking about your to-do list. This is your first opportunity for mindfulness. Make it a ritual. Feel the cool glass in your hand. Notice the temperature of the water as you drink it. Visualize it hydrating every cell in your body, flushing out toxins, and waking up your brain and your organs. This one simple act shifts your entire morning mindset. Instead of starting your day from a place of desperation, "I need coffee to function," you're starting from a place of self-care. You are consciously giving your body the fundamental element it needs to thrive. Then once you're hydrated, by all means enjoy your coffee. You'll find it's not a crutch anymore, but a tool. The caffeine will work more effectively, you'll be less likely to get those jittery, anxious side effects, and you'll have laid a foundation of real, sustainable energy for the day ahead. These 3 habits, no phone for the first hour, 10 minutes of morning sun, and hydrating before caffeinating, create a powerful morning foundation. They protect your mind from digital stress, align your body with its natural rhythms, and provide the essential fuel for peak mental performance. But even if you nail this morning trifecta, there's a deeply ingrained mental habit that can sabotage your entire day before it even truly begins. It's a silent, invisible narrative that runs in the background of our minds, coloring every perception and every decision we make. It's not something you do, but something you think, and in the next part we're going to expose this cognitive trap and learn exactly how to escape it. This trap is a silent tyrant that lives between your ears. It's a single word, a seemingly harmless suggestion that, when weaponized by our inner critic, becomes the architect of our anxiety and the source of our deepest dissatisfaction. That word is should. And the daily habit we're going to build is learning to dethrone it. Let's talk about a guy named Alex. On paper, Alex is doing great. He's got a decent job in marketing, a clean apartment in a good part of the city, friends he sees on the weekends. But if you could listen to the radio station playing inside his head, you'd hear a broadcast of pure, unrelenting misery. His alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m. The very first thought that surfaces isn't "good morning" or "what's for breakfast?" It's, "Ugh, I should have gone to bed earlier." He stumbles to the bathroom, looks in the mirror, and the broadcast continues. "I should be in better shape. I should have a six-pack by now. I shouldn't have eaten that pizza last night." He gets to work, and the shoulds follow him. He opens his email and sees a project update from a colleague. The immediate thought, "I should be that organized. I should be further along in my career. By my age, I should be a manager." He sits in a meeting, and instead of contributing, his mind is just a waterfall of self-criticism. "I should speak up more. I should have a more impressive opinion. I should sound smarter." The day ends, but the tyranny doesn't. He gets home, flops on the couch, and scrolls through Instagram. He sees a friend's vacation photos. "I should be traveling more." He sees a couple's engagement announcement. "I should be in a serious relationship." He sees a post about a new book. "I should be reading more and wasting less time on my phone." Every single should is a tiny little judgment, a micro-failure. It's a constant comparison between the reality of his life and a fictional, perfect version of his life that he's constructed in his mind. The gap between those two things, the real Alex and the should-be Alex, is a canyon. And he lives his entire life shouting into that canyon, feeling the echo of his own inadequacy. Alex isn't living. He's in a constant state of failing to live up to an impossible standard. He is a prisoner in a jail where the bars are made of his own expectations. Does any of this sound familiar? This is what psychologists call a cognitive distortion. The word should is an attack. It implies that you are fundamentally wrong, that your current state is incorrect, that you are deficient. It's a form of self-bullying that we've normalized as a way to motivate ourselves. But it doesn't motivate. Paralyzes. It creates a background hum of guilt and shame that drains your energy, kills your creativity, and makes it impossible to ever feel content. Because with a should-based mindset, the finish line is always moving. Even if you achieve something, you just think, I should have done it sooner, or I should have done it better. So what's the habit? What is the daily practice that breaks these chains? It's a simple but profound linguistic shift. We are going to perform surgery on our internal monologue. The habit is this. Every time you catch yourself using the word should, you consciously replace it with either could or want to. That's it. It sounds almost insultingly simple, but the psychological impact is seismic. It is the difference between a command and a choice. It is the difference between judgment and empowerment. Let's break down how to practice this. The first step for the first few days is just awareness. Don't even try to change it yet. Just become an observer of your own mind. Your job is to simply notice, without judgment, how many times a day you use the word should on yourself. I should clean the kitchen. I should call my mom. I should eat a salad. You'll be shocked. It's like suddenly noticing a word you've never seen before, and now you see it everywhere. This awareness alone is a huge step. You're shining a light on the inner tyrant. Once you've become good at catching it, you begin the swap. The great exchange. Let's look at the two options. First, swapping should for could. Should implies a moral obligation and a guaranteed failure if you don't comply. I should go to the gym feels like a heavy chore. Your brain immediately starts looking for excuses because it feels like a mandate from a drill sergeant. But if you change it to, I could go to the gym, what happens? Suddenly it's not a command. It's an option. It's a possibility. It returns the power to you. You are no longer a disobedient child. You are an adult weighing a choice. I could go to the gym invites a follow-up question. And what would happen if I did? Well, I could feel more energized. I could sleep better tonight. I could feel proud of myself. You've just transformed a source of guilt into a menu of positive possibilities. You've restored your own agency. Now for the second, even more powerful option. Swapping should for want to. This one is for reframing your fundamental desires. Take a statement like, I should be more successful. This is a recipe for misery. It's vague, judgmental, and completely disempowering. What if you rephrased it as, I want to feel a greater sense of accomplishment in my work? Can you feel the difference? The first one is a judgment about your current state. The second one is a desire that points toward a future state. It's not about what you aren't, it's about what you want to become. It shifts you from a place of self-criticism to a place of aspiration. I should be happier becomes, I want to discover what brings me joy and do more of it. I should lose weight becomes, I want to nourish my body in a way that makes me feel healthy and vibrant. One is a stick you use to beat yourself with. The other is a compass that points you toward a life you actually desire. Let's go back to Alex. Imagine he starts practicing this. His alarm goes off. The should monster rears its head. I should have gone to bed earlier. But Alex catches it. He takes a breath and reframes. I want to start my day feeling rested, so tonight I could try getting to bed 30 minutes earlier. No guilt. Just a gentle, forward-looking plan. He looks in the mirror. The voice starts. I should be in better shape. He stops it. He swaps it. I want to feel strong and healthy in my body. I could go for a walk at lunch today. He's not a failure for not having a six-pack. He's a person with a positive desire who is empowered to take a small, achievable step. At work, instead of, I should be a manager by now, he thinks, I want to take on more leadership responsibilities. I could ask my boss about opportunities for growth in our next one-on-one. He has transformed a source of passive envy into an active career strategy. This isn't about letting yourself off the hook or abandoning your goals. It's the exact opposite. It's about removing the shame that keeps you stuck and replacing it with the language of choice and desire, which is the true fuel for sustainable change. Should is the voice of a critic. Could and want are the voices of a coach. A compassionate, strategic coach who understands that you can't shame someone into a better life. Your daily habit is to become the editor of your own thoughts. To catch the word should, and to make the swap. It will feel clunky at first. You'll miss it sometimes. But with practice, you will slowly and surely rewrite the background code of your consciousness. You will starve the inner tyrant and empower the inner leader. You'll stop living in the canyon between reality and expectation, and start living right here, in the present, with the power to choose your next step. We've just rewired a fundamental pattern in our thinking, reclaiming our internal world from a tyrant of our own making. But our minds don't exist in a vacuum. They are deeply, profoundly connected to our physical bodies. The chemical state of our body dictates the emotional state of our mind. And there's one incredibly simple physical action you can take every single day that has been scientifically shown to wash away stress hormones like cortisol and fundamentally change your brain chemistry in just a few minutes. It isn't exercise, it isn't meditation, and it isn't diet. It's something far more primal, an ancient biological reset switch that most of us have forgotten how to use. That switch is deliberate voluntary exposure to cold. I know. For most of us, that sounds less like a wellness habit and more like a form of self-inflicted punishment. Every instinct in your body, honed over millions of years of evolution, screams at you to seek warmth, to find comfort, to avoid the life-threatening shock of the cold. And for our ancestors, that instinct was a lifesaver. But today, in our world of 24/7 central heating, insulated cars and puffy jackets, we've created a bubble of perpetual comfort. And in doing so, we've inadvertently silenced one of the most powerful mechanisms we have for building mental and emotional resilience. Think of it this way: your nervous system is like a muscle. If you never challenge it, if you never push it outside its comfort zone, it becomes weak and flabby. Then when a real stressor comes along, a difficult conversation, a project deadline, a sudden piece of bad news, your system doesn't know how to handle it. It overreacts. You get that jolt of anxiety, that foggy brain, that feeling of being completely overwhelmed, because you haven't trained it for stress. Deliberate cold exposure is training. It's lifting weights for your nervous system. When you willingly step into that cold shower or plunge into that cold lake, you are sending a massive shockwave through your body. Your heart rate spikes, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid, and your brain floods with a cocktail of neurochemicals designed for one thing: survival. The most important of these is norepinephrine. You might know it by its other name. Noradrenaline is the chemical of vigilance, focus, and attention. When you get that blast of cold, your brain releases a flood of norepinephrine that is 2 to 3 times higher than your baseline. This is why, after a cold shower, you don't feel tired or groggy. You feel awake. You feel alert. Your mind feels sharp, clear, and ready to take on the day. That brain fog that normally takes 2 cups of coffee to burn through, it vanishes in 30 seconds. But here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just about the immediate jolt. The magic is in what happens next. Researchers at Stanford, including neuroscientist Dr. Andrew Huberman, have studied the effects of cold water immersion on dopamine, the molecule of motivation, drive, and pleasure. What they found is staggering. Exposing yourself to cold water for just a few minutes causes a massive and, more importantly, a prolonged increase in your baseline level of dopamine. We're talking about a 250% increase that can last for hours. To put that in perspective, that's a more significant and longer-lasting dopamine increase than you get from caffeine, nicotine, or even chocolate. And unlike those things, it doesn't come with a crash. It's a clean, sustainable elevation of your mood and motivation. It's your own body manufacturing the very chemical that makes you feel good, driven, and capable. But science and statistics can only tell you so much. The real power of this habit is in the story it helps you write about yourself. Let me tell you about a guy we'll call Mark. Mark was stuck. He was in his late 30s, dealing with a low-grade depression that had blanketed his life in a layer of gray. He wasn't suicidal, but he wasn't really living either. He was just existing. Getting out of bed felt like a monumental effort. His work felt meaningless. His joy was gone. He'd heard about the benefits of cold showers on a podcast, and in a moment of sheer desperation, decided to try it. The first time was a complete disaster. He turned the knob to full cold, stepped in, and immediately gasped, his whole body tensing up as if he'd been electrocuted. He lasted maybe 5 seconds before leaping out, shivering, angry at himself for trying something so stupid. Felt like a confirmation of his failure. He couldn't even handle a shower. But the next morning, something strange happened. He thought about it again. He remembered that brief, shocking moment of pure, unadulterated sensation. It was unpleasant, yes, but for those 5 seconds he wasn't thinking about his job, his worries, or the grayness of his life. He was just there, present. So he decided to try again. This time he had a plan. He would start his normal warm shower. Then, at the very end, he'd turn it to cold and just try to last for 15 seconds. He told himself, 15 seconds. Anyone can do 15 seconds. He turned the knob. The cold hit him again, a primal shock. But this time, instead of fighting it, he focused on one thing: his breath. He forced himself to take a long, slow exhale, then another. He counted the seconds in his head. 10, 11, 12. He was shaking, but he was doing it. 13, 14, 15. He turned the water off. As he stood there, dripping and shivering, something incredible happened. The shivering subsided, and in its place came a wave of something else. It was a feeling of warmth spreading from the inside out. His skin was tingling. His mind, which was normally a swamp of negative thoughts, was completely, utterly silent. And then a feeling he hadn't experienced in years washed over him. Pride. He had done it. He had faced something difficult, something his body and mind screamed at him not to do, and he had won. It was the first real win he'd had in months. Mark made that cold shower his non-negotiable habit. 15 seconds turned into 30. 30 turned into a minute turned into 2. It never got easy, but it got familiar. And that daily act of courage, that first win of the day, started to change everything. It became a keystone habit, because he knew he could handle 2 minutes of freezing water. That tough phone call with a client seemed a little less daunting, because he had already conquered his own internal resistance first thing in the morning. The temptation to skip the gym after work was easier to overcome. The cold shower didn't magically cure his depression, but it gave him the proof he needed that he was not powerless. It taught him on a deep cellular level that he was capable of doing hard things. It was the anchor that allowed him to start pulling himself out of the gray fog and back into a life of color. This is the profound psychological benefit of voluntary hardship. You are teaching your brain a new narrative. The narrative is not, "I must avoid discomfort at all costs." The new narrative is, "I can seek out discomfort on my own terms, and I will be stronger for it." This fundamentally recalibrates your relationship with stress. The stressors of daily life begin to shrink in comparison to the challenge you willingly faced in your own bathroom. So how do you start? You start exactly like Mark did. Don't be a hero. Don't fill a bathtub with ice on day 1. Simply finish your regular warm shower, take a deep breath, and turn the handle to cold for just 15 to 30 seconds. The key is to control your breathing. Your instinct will be to gasp and hold your breath. Fight it. Force yourself to take long, slow exhales. This signals to your nervous system that you are in control, that this is not a real life or death threat. Stay with it. The first 10 seconds are the worst. After that, your body begins to adapt. Focus on how you feel afterward. That's your reward. That feeling of clean energy, mental clarity, and quiet pride. That's the feeling you're chasing. Over time, you can gradually increase the duration until you're doing 2 or 3 minutes. This single habit is a declaration of war on apathy. It's a way of looking your own weakness and comfort-seeking in the eye and saying, "Not today." It builds a form of mental armor that you carry with you throughout your day. This intense physical practice of shocking the system into a state of resilience is incredibly powerful. But what if the biggest battles aren't fought with shivering muscles and chattering teeth, but with the silent words we repeat inside our own heads? What if the most powerful tool for mental well-being isn't about shocking the system from the outside in, but about carefully rewiring it from the inside out, one single sentence at a time? That brings us to habit number 6, a practice that requires no physical discomfort, but a different kind of courage altogether. Imagine you have a roommate, and this roommate is, for lack of a better word, a complete jerk. The moment you wake up, they're there, whispering in your ear. When you look in the mirror, they point out every single flaw. You get a promotion at work, and instead of celebrating, they say, "It's about time." You're probably not even qualified. They're going to find out you're a fraud. You make a tiny mistake, burn the toast, and they're right there. "See? You can't even do the simplest things right. Total failure." This roommate follows you everywhere. On a date, they're telling you you're not interesting enough. At the gym, they're comparing you to everyone else, telling you you're weak. They replay your most embarrassing moments on a loop right before you fall asleep. They are a constant, draining, critical presence in your life. Now here's the question. How long would you put up with that? A week? A day? An hour? You'd kick them out, right? You'd tell them to get lost, that you deserve to live in a home that's a sanctuary, not a war zone. Of course you would. No one would willingly live with a person like that. And yet we do. Millions of us live with that roommate every single day. Because that roommate isn't a person. It's a voice. It's our own inner critic. And we don't just let it live with us. We give it the master bedroom, we hand it the microphone, and we treat its every word as gospel. This relentless internal monologue of judgment, shame, and inadequacy is arguably one of the single greatest sources of our own suffering. And habit number 6 is about finally, deliberately, and strategically evicting that roommate. It's the practice of deliberate self-compassion. Now hold on. I know for some of you the term self-compassion might sound a little soft, a little fluffy. like something you'd see on a cheesy motivational poster. You might even think, if I'm not hard on myself, I'll get lazy. I'll lose my edge. My inner critic is what drives me to be better. That is one of the most pervasive and damaging myths about high performance and mental well-being, and we're going to dismantle it. Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about changing how you get back on the hook. It's not about ignoring your flaws. It's about treating yourself with the same kindness, support, and understanding you would offer a good friend when they're struggling. Think about it. When your best friend fails an exam or gets rejected for a job, what do you say to them? Do you say, "You're an idiot. I knew you couldn't do it. You should just give up now"? Of course not. You'd say, "Hey, that's tough. I'm so sorry. You studied so hard for that. It's okay to be disappointed. What can we do to figure out the next step? I believe in you." So why, when the exact same thing happens to us, do we unleash the verbal firing squad on ourselves? The practice of self-compassion is the conscious, daily effort to close that gap. The gap between how we treat our friends and how we treat ourselves. So how do we do it? This isn't about just thinking happy thoughts. It's a trainable skill, like learning an instrument or lifting weights. Here's the 3-part exercise you can start today. First, you have to catch the voice. You have to become mindful of your own thoughts. For many of us, that inner critic has been talking for so long it's just background noise. We don't even notice it's there. So the first step is to simply notice. When you feel a wave of anxiety or shame or frustration, pause for a second and ask, what was I just saying to myself? What's the story I'm telling myself right now? Just observe it without judgment. Oh, there it is. The "you're not good enough" story. The "you always mess things up" story. Just identifying the voice is half the battle. It takes it from being an absolute truth to being just one thought, one perspective. A great trick here is to actually give your inner critic a name. A slightly ridiculous name, like Gremlin Gary or Judge Judy. By personifying it and giving it a silly name, you create separation. It's not you. It's just Gary being a jerk again. Second, remind yourself of your common humanity. This is a game changer. The inner critic thrives on isolation. It wants you to believe that you are uniquely flawed, that you are the only one who struggles this way. Self-compassion shatters that illusion. When you mess up, instead of spiraling into "what's wrong with me?" you can consciously say to yourself, "This is a moment of suffering, and suffering is a part of life. Other people feel this way too. Making mistakes doesn't mean I'm broken. It means I'm human." This simple reframe connects you to the entire human experience instead of isolating you within your own perceived failure. You're not alone in this. Not even close. And third, and this is the most active part, respond with kindness. This is where you apply what I call the friend test. You've caught the critical thought. You've reminded yourself that it's a human thing to struggle. Now ask yourself, what would I say to my best friend if they were in this exact situation? And then say that to yourself, out loud if you have to. So instead of, "I can't believe I said that in the meeting, I'm such an idiot," it becomes, "Okay, that came out a little awkwardly. It happens to everyone. It's uncomfortable, but it's not the end of the world. I'll be more prepared next time." Instead of, "I skipped my workout again. I'm so lazy and undisciplined," it becomes, "I must have been really tired today. My body needed rest. It's okay. I'll have another chance to move my body tomorrow." One missed day doesn't define my whole fitness journey. This is not about making excuses. It's about trading shame for encouragement. And this brings us back to that myth that being hard on yourself is what drives you. Research from Dr. Kristen Neff, a leading expert on this, shows the exact opposite. Relentless self-criticism puts your body in a threat state. It triggers cortisol and adrenaline, the fight-or-flight response. You can't learn, you can't be creative, and you can't problem-solve effectively when your brain thinks it's being chased by a tiger. It leads to fear of failure, which makes you less likely to try new things and more likely to procrastinate. Self-compassion, on the other hand, activates the brain's self-soothing and safety systems. It calms the nervous system. From that place of psychological safety, you are far more resilient. You're more willing to take risks because you know that if you fail, you won't be met with a barrage of internal abuse. You'll be met with a supportive coach who will help you get back up, learn the lesson, and try again. Which person do you think is going to be more successful in the long run? The one who beats themselves into submission, or the one who coaches themselves with kindness and support? It's courage. It's the courage to stop the lifelong habit of self-flagellation and try something new. It's the courage to believe that you are worthy of the same kindness you so freely give to others. This isn't a one-time fix. It is a daily practice, a rep. Every time you catch Gremlin Gary and choose to respond with the voice of a friend, you are carving a new neural pathway. You are literally rewiring your brain. You are taking the microphone away from your worst roommate and handing it to your greatest ally, yourself. By mastering your internal dialogue, you build a foundation of resilience that is unshakable. You become a secure base from which you can operate in the world. And once you begin to manage that inner world with kindness, it profoundly changes how you interact with the outer world, which is a perfect transition to our seventh habit, a practice that takes this internal strength and projects it outward into one of the most critical areas of our lives. And that seventh habit is to consciously and deliberately nurture your social connections. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. Nurture connections? I have 1,000 friends on Facebook, I'm in 5 different group chats, I see people at work every single day. I'm connected. But are you? Or are you just in contact? There's a profound difference, and it's at the heart of what many experts are calling a quiet pandemic sweeping across the nation. Loneliness. We live in the most technologically connected era in human history, yet rates of loneliness, anxiety, and depression are skyrocketing. We've traded deep, meaningful face-to-face interaction for shallow, curated, digital streams of information. We scroll through highlight reels of other people's lives, leaving a like here and a fire emoji there. But the feeling of genuine belonging remains elusive. It's like dying of thirst while standing in the middle of the ocean. The water is everywhere, but you can't drink it. Let me tell you about a guy named Mark. Mark was the quintessential modern success story. A senior software engineer in a bustling tech hub, he had a 6-figure salary, a sleek apartment downtown, and over 2,000 LinkedIn connections. His calendar was a fortress of back-to-back meetings, project deadlines, and networking events. From the outside, he was winning. But on the inside, Mark was starving. He'd come home to his empty apartment, the silence deafening after the artificial buzz of the office. He'd scroll through photos of friends on vacation, colleagues at parties he was too busy to attend, and feel a hollow ache in his chest. He had hundreds of acquaintances, but not a single person he felt he could call at 3 in the morning if his world was falling apart. He was surrounded by people, but he was profoundly alone. Mark's story isn't an anomaly. It's a reflection of a deep biological need that we've started to ignore. Human beings are, by our very nature, social creatures. For millennia, our survival depended on the tribe. Being part of a close-knit group meant protection, shared resources, and cooperation. Being cast out meant certain death. This wiring is still deeply embedded in our DNA. When we feel isolated, our brain's threat response system, the amygdala, goes into overdrive. It perceives loneliness as a genuine danger, triggering a chronic stress response that floods our body with cortisol. Over time, this chronic stress can lead to inflammation, a weakened immune system, and a significantly higher risk for everything from heart disease to dementia. In fact, the famous Harvard study of adult development, one of the longest-running studies on human happiness ever conducted, has followed hundreds of men for over 80 years. And its primary conclusion, after decades of data, is crystal clear. It wasn't their cholesterol levels at age 50 that predicted how they'd grow old. It wasn't their wealth or their fame. The single most powerful predictor of their long-term health and happiness was the quality of their relationships. Good, close relationships literally keep us happier and healthier. They are a form of emotional nutrition, as essential as food and water. So how do we fix this? How do we go from being merely in contact to being truly connected? It's not about adding more friends on social media. It's about deepening the connections you already have, and it starts with a simple daily practice. This isn't about suddenly becoming a social butterfly. It's about being an architect of your social world, intentionally laying one brick of connection at a time. The first micro-habit is what I call the 5-minute investment. Every single day, take just 5 minutes to proactively reach out to one person in your life. This isn't a passive scroll. This is an active reach out. It could be a text message to a college friend, not just saying hey, but saying, hey, I was just listening to that band we saw live back in 2012 and it made me think of you. Hope you're doing great. It could be a quick 5-minute phone call to your mom or dad on your commute home, just to ask about their day. It could be sending a genuinely thoughtful comment on a colleague's LinkedIn post, acknowledging their hard work. The key is specificity and sincerity. You are sending a small, powerful signal that says, I see you. I'm thinking of you. You matter to me. It costs you almost nothing, but the emotional return on investment is immense, both for you and for them. The second microhabit is to practice the superpower of active listening. Most of us don't listen. We wait for our turn to talk. We're formulating our response, thinking about our own similar story, or just zoning out while the other person's lips are moving. Active listening is a complete paradigm shift. It is listening with the sole intent to understand. Here's a simple technique you can practice today. The next time someone is talking to you, especially about something important, your only job is to understand their world. Don't offer advice unless they ask. Don't jump in with your own story. Just listen. And when they pause, try this simple phrase. So what I'm hearing you say is, and then paraphrase their feelings and their situation back to them. So what I'm hearing you say is you're feeling incredibly overwhelmed at work because your boss isn't recognizing all the extra hours you're putting in. When you do this, something magical happens. The other person feels seen. They feel heard. They feel validated. You create a space of psychological safety where genuine connection can flourish. You'll be stunned at how much deeper your conversations become when you stop making them about you. The third microhabit is to schedule connection. I know it sounds clinical and unromantic, but in our overscheduled lives, what doesn't get scheduled doesn't get done. We put dentist appointments and oil changes in our calendars. Why wouldn't we schedule something as vital as human connection? Stop saying we should totally catch up sometime. That's a social dead end. Pull out your phone and say, I'd love that. Are you free for a coffee next Tuesday morning? Put it on the calendar. A weekly phone call with a sibling. A monthly dinner with your closest friends. A bi-weekly date night with your partner. By putting it on the calendar, you are telling your brain and the other person that this relationship is a priority. It's not an afterthought to be squeezed in if you have time. It's a non-negotiable pillar of your well-being. Mark the engineer started small. He felt awkward at first. He started with a 5-minute investment. He sent a text to an old college buddy with a picture from their graduation. That text turned into a phone call that weekend. He discovered his friend was going through a tough divorce. For the first time in years, Mark just listened. He didn't try to fix it. He just said, "Man, that sounds incredibly difficult. I'm so sorry you're going through that." A few weeks later, he scheduled a recurring Friday lunch with a coworker he respected, moving a work relationship into a genuine friendship. Slowly, painstakingly, he began to build his tribe. His work performance improved because he was less stressed. His mood lifted. His sleek apartment started to feel less like a silent box and more like a home, a place to recharge before going out to connect with the people who now formed his safety net. He didn't have more friends than before, but the depth of his connections had changed everything. Your relationships are a living ecosystem. They need to be watered, tended to, and cared for. They will not survive on neglect. This isn't a chore. It's the most rewarding work you will ever do. By investing in others, you are fundamentally investing in your own mental and physical health. And as you strengthen these external bonds, you'll find it creates a remarkable new foundation for understanding the world around you, and more specifically, the immediate physical world you inhabit every single day. And that brings us to our 8th habit, which is in many ways the most tangible and immediate practice on this entire list. Mindfully engage with your physical environment. Think about it. Where do you spend the majority of your time? For most of us, it's our home, our office, our car. These aren't just backdrops to our lives. They are active participants. They influence our mood, our stress levels, and our ability to focus in ways we rarely acknowledge. We've all felt that subtle creeping anxiety that comes from a cluttered desk, a sink full of dishes, or a bedroom where clothes have formed their own colonies on the floor. We might not even consciously register it, but our brain does. Every out-of-place object is a tiny, unresolved to-do item. It's a micro-decision waiting to be made. That pile of mail on the counter isn't just paper. It's a stack of questions. Open now? Later? Is it important? Is it junk? That single coffee mug on your nightstand isn't just a mug. It's a reminder of the task of taking it to the kitchen, washing it, and putting it away. Each of these items individually is trivial, but together they create a constant low hum of visual noise. This isn't just philosophical. It's neurological. A study from the Princeton University Neuroscience Institute found that physical clutter in your environment competes for your attention, resulting in decreased performance and increased stress. Your brain is trying to process your work, your thoughts, and your feelings, but it's also being forced to process the visual chaos of the 37 different objects scattered across your desk. It's like trying to have an important conversation in a room where a dozen different TVs are all blaring at once. It drains your mental energy, your precious cognitive resources, without you even realizing it. So the habit isn't just clean your room. It's about intentionally curating a space that calms your mind instead of cluttering it. It's about transforming your environment from a source of stress into a sanctuary of peace. And this is incredibly empowering, because in a world filled with things we can't control, the economy, the news, the actions of others, our personal space is one of the few domains where we have almost absolute authority. Taking control of this space sends a powerful signal to your subconscious mind. I am in charge here. I can create order from chaos. I am capable. Let's talk about a character we'll call David. David was feeling stuck. His career had stalled, he felt creatively blocked, and a general sense of overwhelm followed him around like a shadow. His apartment reflected this perfectly. It wasn't dirty exactly, but it was profoundly cluttered. Books were piled in corners, projects he'd started and abandoned sat on his dining table, and his closet was a chaotic jumble of clothes he hadn't worn in years. His home was a physical manifestation of his mental state, full of unresolved business and past versions of himself. One Saturday, out of sheer frustration, he decided to tackle one small corner, just the bookshelf next to his desk. He took every book off, wiped the dust, and made 3 piles: keep, donate, and store. As he held each book, he was forced to make a decision. Did this book still represent who he was or who he wanted to be? He got rid of old textbooks from college, novels he'd never read, and self-help books that no longer resonated. When he was done, the shelf was half empty, but it felt light. It felt intentional. He could breathe. This small victory created a ripple effect. The next day, he tackled his closet. The day after, the kitchen cabinets. With each bag of stuff he donated or threw away, he felt a corresponding weight lift from his mind. By clearing his physical space, he was inadvertently clearing his mental space. He was making room, and in that new open space, new ideas began to emerge. The creative block started to dissolve. He saw a clearer path for his career. He wasn't just organizing his apartment, he was organizing his life. So how do we put this into daily practice without it becoming another overwhelming chore? First, adopt the 1-minute rule. It's a game changer. The rule is simple. If a task takes less than a minute to complete, do it immediately. Don't leave the dish in the sink. Rinse it and put it in the dishwasher. That takes 30 seconds. Don't throw your coat on a chair. Hang it in the closet. 15 seconds. Don't leave the Amazon box by the door. Break it down and put it in the recycling. 1 minute. These tiny actions prevent the buildup of that visual noise. They stop the small things from becoming big, daunting messes. Second, create a daily reset ritual. This isn't deep cleaning. It's a 10 to 15 minute sweep at the end of the day. Put the pillows back on the couch. Wipe down the kitchen counters. Put away the things that have migrated from their proper homes. The goal is to reset your space to a neutral, orderly state. The psychological payoff is immense. Waking up to a clean, organized environment is a fundamentally different experience than waking up to the chaos of yesterday. One feels like a fresh start, a clean slate. The other feels like you're already behind, starting the day with a deficit. But our physical environment isn't just the space inside our 4 walls. It's also the world outside them. And engaging with the natural world is one of the most powerful, scientifically backed ways to improve your mental well-being. This is an idea called biophilia, the hypothesis that humans possess an innate tendency to seek connections with nature. We live in climate-controlled boxes, staring at glowing rectangles, disconnected from the very world we evolved to inhabit. Restoring that connection, even in small ways, can have a profound impact. You don't need to go on a week-long backpacking trip unless you want to. The habit is about finding daily touchpoints with nature. It could be as simple as buying one plant for your home or office. Tending to something living, watching it grow, connects you to natural cycles. It could be taking your morning coffee onto your porch or balcony instead of drinking it while scrolling on your phone. It could be committing to a 10-minute walk during your lunch break, but with a specific intention to notice. Don't just walk with your head down, lost in thought. Notice the shape of the leaves on a tree. Notice the way the wind feels on your skin. Listen for birdsong underneath the sound of traffic. Take off your shoes and stand in the grass for 2 minutes. This practice, often called grounding or earthing, sounds a bit strange, but the simple sensory experience of connecting with the earth can be incredibly calming and centering. These small acts of engagement with our environment, both inside and out, are powerful forms of mindfulness. They pull us out of the endless chatter in our heads and anchor us in the present moment, in the physical reality of our lives. When you intentionally create an external world that is calm, orderly, and connected to nature, you are building an unshakable foundation for internal calm. You are proving to yourself through direct action that you have the power to shape your reality. And when you successfully create order in the world you can see and touch, you build the perfect framework to create order in the world you can't see. The world of your own sprawling thoughts, your abstract goals, and your deepest ambitions. This brings us to the 9th habit, and it's arguably the most direct way to bring order to that invisible internal world. Because if your mind is a kingdom, your attention is the king. And where the king places his focus, the entire kingdom thrives or it withers. Think about your brain for a second. It's not just a passive receiver of information. It's an active, relentless pattern-matching machine. It's constantly scanning your environment, your memories, and your future projections, trying to make sense of it all. But here's the crucial part most people miss. It's not a neutral observer. Your brain has a built-in, factory-installed bias. It's called the negativity bias. This isn't a flaw, it's a feature. A feature designed for a world that no longer exists. For our ancestors roaming the savannah, overlooking a single rustle in the grass could mean death. But overlooking a beautiful sunset? That had zero impact on survival. So, our brains evolved to be incredibly good at spotting threats, problems, and dangers. It's like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. A single criticism can stick with you for a week, while 5 compliments slide right off in an hour. In the modern world, this survival mechanism has become a major liability for our mental well-being. The rustle in the grass is now a passive-aggressive email from a coworker, a worrying headline on the news, or the fear that you're not living up to your potential. Your brain, doing the job it was designed to do, latches onto these threats with ferocious intensity. The result? A constant, low-grade hum of anxiety, a feeling that something is always wrong, a mind that feels chaotic, disordered, and heavy. We spend our days scanning for what's broken, what's missing, and what might go wrong. We are hunting for threats in a world where the threats are no longer tigers, but abstract anxieties. So what's the antidote? If our brain has a default setting that leans toward the negative, how do we manually, intentionally, and consistently override it? The answer is the conscious and deliberate practice of gratitude. Now hold on. I know what some of you are thinking. Gratitude? That sounds like fluffy, wishful thinking. That's for people who don't have real problems. I get it. The concept has been so watered down by motivational posters and platitudes that it's lost its fierce, transformative power. This is not about pretending your problems don't exist. This is not about toxic positivity, where you slap a smiley face on a genuine crisis. True, profound gratitude is not about ignoring the darkness. It's about turning on a light so you can see the whole room. It's about acknowledging that both difficulty and beauty can, and do, exist in the very same moment. Practicing gratitude is the mental equivalent of strength training. The negativity bias is your brain's default, atrophied state. Gratitude is the active, repeated exercise that builds new neural pathways. It physically rewires your brain to get better at noticing what's right, what's working, and what you have instead of only obsessing over what you lack. So how do you do it? Not by just vaguely thinking, I'm grateful. It has to be specific, and it has to be a non-negotiable habit. The most effective, scientifically backed method is called the 3 good things exercise. It's deceptively simple, but its effects are profound. Every single night before you go to sleep, take out a notebook, a physical notebook, not your phone. The act of writing by hand slows you down and engages your brain differently. And you will do 2 things. First, you will write down 3 specific things that went well that day. Specificity is key. I'm grateful for my family is too broad. It's a nice thought, but it doesn't train your brain. Instead, write something like, my daughter told me a hilarious joke at dinner that made me laugh so hard I cried. Or, the sun came through the window this morning and lit up the dust motes in the air. And for a full minute, it was just beautiful and calm. Or, a coworker took the time to explain a complex problem to me today, which saved me hours of frustration. Second, and this is the most important part, for each of those 3 things you must write down why it happened. You are answering the question, what was my role in bringing this good thing about? This part is crucial because it moves you from being a passive recipient of luck to an active agent in your own life. For the joke your daughter told, maybe the why is, because I made a point to put my phone away during dinner and be present with her. For the moment of sun, the why could be, Because I chose to pause for a moment and just look instead of immediately rushing to my next task. For the helpful coworker, the why might be because I was willing to be vulnerable and ask for help instead of trying to struggle through it alone. Do you see the power in that? You are training your brain not only to spot the good, but to recognize your own agency in creating it. First, this might feel difficult, even phony. On a tough day, you might be struggling to find anything. You might write, "I'm grateful for this pen because it works." That's okay. Start there. But what you will find if you stick with it for just 2 weeks is that your brain starts to change its search algorithm during the day. It knows it has a homework assignment coming up. It starts actively looking for and cataloging positive moments as they happen. It's like telling your brain, "Tonight we're going on a scavenger hunt for good things." And all day your mind is eagerly looking for clues. You'll start to notice the warmth of the coffee cup in your hands. You'll notice the genuine smile from the person at the checkout counter. You'll notice the satisfaction of completing a small mundane task. These things were always there. Your brain was just trained to ignore them, to treat them as irrelevant data in its hunt for threats. This practice reclassifies them as important. It elevates them. This isn't just philosophy. It's neuroscience. Studies conducted at places like UC Berkeley have shown that a consistent gratitude practice can lead to measurable changes in the brain. It boosts neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, the same chemicals targeted by antidepressants. It improves sleep quality, lowers stress hormones like cortisol, and has even been shown to increase activity in the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and emotional regulation. You are literally building a more resilient, happier brain from the inside out. You are creating order in the chaos of your thoughts by consciously choosing your focus. You're not denying the existence of weeds in the garden of your mind. You're just spending more time watering the flowers. Over time, the flowers get so vibrant and strong, they naturally start to crowd out the weeds. The weeds don't vanish, but they no longer dominate the landscape. The internal order you create through this practice becomes a fortress. When life inevitably throws its challenges at you, a job loss, a health scare, a personal betrayal, you will still feel the pain. You will still grieve. But you will have a foundation of mental resilience that you built, brick by brick, every single night. You'll have a deep, unshakable knowledge that even in the darkest of times, there is still light to be found, because you have trained yourself to see it. And once you've learned to intentionally cultivate the garden of your mind, you're ready for the single most powerful habit of all, the one that ties everything else together and gives it a meaning that can weather any storm. And that habit is to define your why. This isn't just another task to check off a list. This is the compass. This is the North Star for your entire existence. All the other habits we've talked about, the exercise, the mindfulness, the gratitude, the learning, they are the ship, the sails, and the rudder. They are incredibly powerful tools to move you forward. But without a destination, a map, a reason for the journey, you're just adrift. You're sailing perfectly, but in circles. So many of us live our lives in a state of quiet desperation, going through the motions. We wake up, we go to work, we pay the bills, we watch TV, we go to sleep, and we do it all over again. We follow a script written by someone else, our parents, our teachers, society. We pursue goals we're told we should want, the promotion, the bigger house, the fancier car. And we might even achieve them. But then we find ourselves standing in that big house, looking at that fancy car and feeling empty. A hollow echo where a sense of fulfillment should be. Why? Because we've been so busy climbing the ladder of success that we never stopped to ask if the ladder was leaning against the right wall. There's a timeless story about 3 men working at a construction site. A traveler walks by and asks the first man, "What are you doing?" The man, wiping sweat from his brow, grumbles, "I'm laying bricks. It's hot, it's heavy, and it's boring. But it pays the bills." The traveler moves on to the second man and asks the same question. This man answers with a bit more energy, "I'm building a wall. It's a good sturdy wall. I take pride in my work, making sure every line is straight and every brick is set perfectly." Finally, the traveler approaches the third man. He's working with the same diligence as the second, but there's a light in his eyes. A quiet joy radiates from him. The traveler asks, "And you, sir, what are you doing?" The man looks up, smiles, and says, "I'm building a cathedral." All 3 men were doing the exact same physical task, but their inner experience, their mental well-being, was worlds apart. The first man had a job, the second had a craft, but the third man had a calling. He had a why. The drudgery of laying a single brick was transformed by the magnificent purpose it served. This isn't just a nice story. It's a fundamental truth about human psychology. The psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl wrote about this in his masterpiece, Man's Search for Meaning. After surviving the unimaginable horrors of the concentration camps, he came to a profound conclusion. The primary driving force in human beings is not the pursuit of pleasure, but the pursuit of meaning. He saw it firsthand. The people who survived the camps were not necessarily the strongest or the healthiest. They were the ones who had a reason to live, a loved one to see again, a book they needed to write, a purpose that was bigger than their suffering. Frankl famously wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how. Your why is the ultimate source of resilience. When you have a purpose, setbacks are no longer failures, they are lessons. Obstacles are not roadblocks, they are detours. The pain and struggle of life don't disappear, but they become meaningful. They become the fire that forges you, not the fire that consumes you." So how do you find it? This grand, intimidating thing called purpose? It's not about waiting for a lightning bolt of inspiration. It's a process of excavation. It's already inside you. You just need to dig. And you can start today with a simple but profoundly powerful daily habit. Starts with asking the right questions. Not what do I want to have, but who do I want to be? Not what will make me happy, but what is worth suffering for? Here's a practical exercise. It's a bit morbid, but it's the most effective clarifying tool I've ever found. Take a few minutes, close your eyes, and imagine your own funeral. I know it's intense, but stay with me. Picture the people there, your family, your friends, your colleagues. Someone gets up to give your eulogy. What do you want them to say? Seriously, what is the one thing you hope they remember about you? That you had a nice car? That you answered emails quickly? Or that you were kind? That you were a loving parent? That you inspired people with your art? That you made people laugh when they wanted to cry? That you left the world a little better than you found it? The answer to that question, that's the beginning of your why. It reveals your core values. And your purpose is simply the act of living in alignment with those values, every single day. If your value is compassion, your purpose might be to alleviate suffering in your community. If your value is creativity, your purpose might be to create beauty and inspire others. If your value is growth, your purpose might be to learn and to teach. Once you have an inkling of these values, the next step is to craft a personal mission statement. Just one sentence. A simple declaration that will act as your guide. It could be something like, "My purpose is to use my voice to empower those who cannot speak for themselves." Or, "My purpose is to be a source of unconditional love and stability for my family." Or even, "My purpose is to experience life with courage, curiosity, and a sense of humor." Write it down. Put it on a sticky note on your mirror. Make it the wallpaper on your phone. This sentence is your cathedral. And now for the daily habit. Every single morning before you check your phone, before the chaos of the day begins, read your mission statement and ask yourself one question. How can I live this purpose today? It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. If your purpose is to empower others, maybe it's just sending an encouraging text to a friend who's struggling. If your purpose is to create beauty, maybe it's spending 15 minutes working on a painting or tending to your garden. These small daily acts of purpose are the bricks. And day by day you lay them one on top of the other, until you look back and realize you've built something magnificent. This is what ties everything together. Suddenly, habit number 1, getting sunlight, isn't just about vitamin D. It's about charging your body so you have the energy to fulfill your purpose. Habit number 4, exercise isn't a chore. It's honoring the vessel that allows you to do your life's work. Habit number 7, learning a new skill isn't just a hobby. It's adding a new tool to your belt so you can build your cathedral more effectively. Habit number 9, gratitude becomes effortless because you're grateful for another day to live your why. Your purpose infuses every other positive habit with meaning. It's the fuel. Without it, the engine will eventually sputter and die. With it, you become an unstoppable force for good in your own life and in the lives of others. You stop living by accident and start living on purpose. You stop being a passive passenger in your own life, and you grab the steering wheel with both hands. You become the architect, the builder, and the resident of a life that feels authentic, meaningful, and deeply, unshakably your own. The two most important days in a person's life are the day they are born and the day they discover why. You've already taken care of the first one. The second one isn't a matter of chance, it's a matter of choice. It's a habit you can start building brick by brick right now. So, what cathedral will you build?